Technique number 3 is going to be using something called knife projection. It's not something that I've often used, but when I do use it, I'm always impressed at how useful it can be in certain situations. As always, I'm going to start off with an image plane. So as before, Shift A, Image, Mesh Plane. Now that I'm going to add a new image this time because I don't want to repeat the other ones. Let's select the one from my Helldivers 2 Thermite Grenade video tutorial. Check that out if you haven't already seen it. And let's import that images as planes. Let's switch over to the top view. Let's go to solid mode. Actually, as before, let's head over to shading actually, and just very quickly add, with that selected, press Control T, you have the node wrangler enabled, add-on enabled, Control T, and I'll add the texture coordinates and mapping nodes. It should still work without it, but it's always good to have them there. So I'm going to do Shift A, Mesh, Plane. At the moment, it's sitting exactly on top of the other one, so I'm just going to move it up just a little bit. Go back to the top view, 7 on the numpad. Let's turn on, okay, let's just go to X-ray mode like that, in solid mode. So with that plane selected, I'm going to tab into edit mode. For this one, I think I'm just going to do right-click, subdivide, and let's give that a number of, let's go with 10. And that's going to be fine. And we're still in edit mode on this plane. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller to kind of match the size of our image plane in the background. We don't want it to be smaller. We want it to be slightly larger. And I think we'll just leave it there. We're still not quite there yet. So to do that, knife projection works simply by using edges and nothing else. You can't have faces in your object. Well, you could, but it probably won't work. So what we're going to do is select all of the faces by pressing A in face select mode. And I'm going to press the delete key. Now it's important you don't delete faces because that will delete everything, of course. So I'm going to undo that and press delete again. And this time we only want to delete faces. So select the option which says only faces. And that just literally deletes the faces only, but keeps the vertices and the edges, which is exactly what we want for a knife projection. So how do we use knife projection? Because if we select our original Helldivers 2 image there, and I search for, press F3, for example, and I do type in knife, we can't find anything other than the collection we have in the outliner. So where do we find knife projection? Oops, let's just make that a little bit wider. Maybe it's under modifiers. So we head over to our modifiers tab, click on add, and let's search here. You can search for knife, and again, no results found. So you're probably wondering, where do we find knife projection? Well, strangely enough, you have to be in edit mode, or not strangely, it kind of makes sense, because like anything else, the knife, which is down here, I believe, there it is there, the knife tool just here, needs to be operated on or invoked in edit mode, not object mode. And the same will happen with knife project. If I just hold down here, the options on the knife in the toolbar there, we have another option called bisect. That's not the one we want to use because we don't have knife projection here either. So, however, if I press F3 for search now, you can see we have knife project pop up straight away, which is really cool. But nothing will happen if we select that. What you need to do is, let's switch over to edge mode. In fact, it doesn't have to be edge mode really, I don't think. So the point is, we're in edit mode on our original image plane, which is the Helldivers image just there. Now the trick is, you have to hold down Shift or Control and select the cutter object in the outliner. Now if I go to the top view, like this, I want to project the cage onto the image plane beneath it. So with the top view, like this, I can do F3 for search and select knife project. You can see something's happened here, and it has actually worked. So we come out of edit mode and go back to object mode. Let's hide our cutter for a second. And there's our image plane, and it all looks to be exactly as it was before. However, if we tab into edit mode, you can see we now have individual faces for all of these areas where we had the overlaying cage. Press G to grab. Yeah, you can see they're still connected together. So like before, you have to separate these with in edge mode. So press 2 on the keyboard, press A to select all of the edges, right click and select edge split. And from there, if I select faces and press G to grab, you can see they're now individual. Now it's a simple case of, let's actually select all of the faces by pressing A, press E to extrude and lift them up like so. And then again, press A to select everything, press P to separate by loose parts. And now we have individual, let's go to object mode, we have individual blocks for each of the cubes that we just created. Again, like before, select all of the cubes, right click, set origin, origin to geometry. Let's do the same thing again. So select the image plane, tab into edit mode, hold down shift, select the cutter. If you remember, when I did it originally, I did it from the top view. There's a very good reason for that, because it projects from the point of view of your viewport. So what does that mean? Well, if I did it from this angle, like this, and I invoked, if I press F3 and invoke knife projection now, let's go back to object mode. Oops. Pressing all the wrong keys now. There we go. Object mode. Let's hide our cutter for a moment. Select our image plane, go into edit mode. You can see it's projected it from the angle that we were looking at it from the viewport's perspective. Okay, if you made it this far, congratulations. Now onto the bonus content. And if I go back to my original Blender file, you can see that these look really cool in that they look as though they've been dropped and the cubes have come apart, of course, under the physics. I think it's a really neat effect and can be used for many applications, not just this. So how did I do that? Well, I didn't use the Blender's traditional physics interface, essentially, and you can do. It'd probably be fine for a simple case like this. However, I did use an add-on called Physics Dropper, and I'll just quickly show you where I got that from and what it does. So here we are on Blendermarket, soon to be called Superhive, of course. And you can see there, this add-on is actually $4. Now, before you click away, I'm not, saying I'm not going to pay for an add-on. Well, you don't have to if you can't afford it and you don't want to do that. Or maybe you just want to evaluate it before you purchase it and give something back to the developer. You can actually grab the full version, as you can see it says there, for free at that link on the Blendermarket product page. I was going to say, once you download the add-on, of course, head over to Preferences, Add-ons, and then you can install it from here. And when it's installed, you should see something. Well, you should see this. Okay, so that's what that is. So anyway, we've got our cubes dropped collection now with all of our individual cubes inside. Let's turn off the original loop cuts version. And to start off with, I'm going to add a plane. I'm going to add that quickly with the add-on. Press S for scale and scale it up something like this. And of course, we did that in object mode. So make sure you apply the scale with Control A. I used my add-on, but I'm going to hit Control A and apply the scale. So there you have it. We have our cubes sitting visually anyway on the plane we just created. Let's make this plane a little bit darker so we can see our cubes a bit easier. Let's create a new material. I'm just going to make that like an orangey red, something like that. All we need to do is select all of our cubes. So let's drag and select everything here. And of course, we've selected the plane as well. Hold down Shift and click the plane to deselect it. So now we've selected just the cubes. So what I did was I moved these up like so. Did that on the front view. There's our plane here. Move it up just a smidge like that. Switch over to the side view by pressing 3 on the numpad. And I'm going to rotate it. Oops, let's go to change up pivot point back to medium point. Press rotate like so. Back to the front view. And I'm going to rotate it this way as well. And move them up so it's not intersecting the plane just there. Just so it's above the plane. like this. Cool. Right, the next step is really simple. Here's our add-on. This is where the add-on will appear once it's installed. You can hear on the right-hand side. I'll give you a quick overview. So you open it up, you've got rigid body option at the top there. You've got a cloth option. You've got a big drop button, which I won't click just yet. And beneath that, you've got active settings, passive settings, and I believe this should say world settings, not word. Just probably a typing error in the code there. So I'm going to leave everything at default as it is here. And with those cubes selected, I'm going to switch over to solid mode, just to make sure it goes a little bit faster, turn off X-ray, and I'm going to press drop. And just like that, it works. So I'm going to make a new window at the bottom here, because this is actually an animation that's playing. You can see there, it plays up to 250 frames, which is the default. And it will continue playing until you stop it. So it just keeps repeating itself. If I press stop now with the space bar and scrub through the timeline, you can see our cubes colliding with our plane. Now at this point, we're not done, because you can see here we've got this big red apply button, which has appeared. We've also got a bake to cache and bake to keyframes. You can also do pause and play simulation. If I press the space bar again to play, pause, that will do the same thing. All I did was drop the cubes. If I switch over to rendered mode, you can see the effect. Let me just turn off the overlays like so. This is the effect we have. Switch to the top view. Again, if I scroll through the timeline, there's our starting point, and then impact, then the cubes. Some of them turn over as well because they were quite high up when they fell. Like that. Pushed over by the other cubes. So that's essentially how I did that, and I think it's a really great effect. Now to apply this to your cubes, you simply click the apply button. And now if I select each of these cubes, let's have a look at the item tab there. You can see the transformation that's been made on the location and the rotation of each cube. So for example, if you don't like, what's neat about that is if you want these cubes not to be rotated, let's turn overlays back again. You can simply change the value there from 90 to 0, and that will put it right way up again. So maybe you don't want that to be turned over, put it back to 0. And now you have the freedom to move them around as you so wish and rotate them like so manually to make some fine adjustments to your final result. I think it's a fantastic little add-on. Check it out on Blendermarket. I'll put a link in the description. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.